Welcome back to the Kickoff Sports Breakfast Show on Beach FM 106.3. Well, what a Super Rugby Aotearoa we had, and let's talk all about it. Let's welcome to the show. It is a great honour of mine to welcome in one of the country's best sports journalists and commentators, the one and only Nigel Yalden. G'day, Nige.
Morning, DC. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, very well. How are you doing?
Yeah, we're hanging in there. You know how it goes. Strange old times that we reside in at the moment, mate, but like everyone, just doing the best we can and just trying to do what we can to make sure that thing doesn't get any further than it already has.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Well, it's been an interesting 2020 for sport in general, mate. But what an Super Rugby Aotearoa we have just seen. You've witnessed many Super Rugby competitions over the years, I'm sure, but this one was a lot different. So what was your take on this year's competition?
Look, I think the obvious thing is just the fact we haven't seen anything like it because it was 10 weeks of just New Zealand derbies. I mean, the best of the best. I mean, it's the reason why during a regular Super Rugby season we look so much forward to those New Zealand derbies just because of the quality and the closeness. And when you looked at it, you know, the game started to get a little bit of a gap in them, I guess, you know, there's a bit of attrition wore on, particularly with the likes of the Chiefs with the last couple of games where they went down by double figures. But, you know, for the most part, you know, it was a really entertaining competition. And look, we know it was tough for the players. And I think we can all appreciate the fact that it was really tough on the players playing those games. You know, 4 New Zealand derbies in a row is hard yakka, really hard yakka. We appreciate that. But, yeah, I tell you what, entertainment, skill, quality, toughness. And the thing I also like, Damian, as well, was the fact that watching the adjustments coaches were making the second time around, having got them so recently. So having seen, you know, the changes, the subtle changes coaches would make, having played a team in their first round of games to the second round, and that was only sort of 5 weeks apart. I found that quite fascinating too. It was neat to watch. I think we learned a lot about the players. Also, we learned a little bit about some of the coaching staffs as well.
Absolutely. Hey, mate, you might to balance it. I mean, is it even a balance? You take away the travel to South Africa and those big boxes that they take on every week, but it's a different level. How, if we are to go down this route again, do we add another team? If that is the case next year, do we add a double bye week? How would we adjust it?
Well, the simple fact is playing 4 New Zealand derbies in a row, I think, has shown, just again, as I said, with that attrition rate, particularly throughout the second round of games, I think it's shown that it's really tough. 3 games in a row, 3 rounds in a row, then a break, then another 3, and then another break. I like the idea. Look, everyone's talking about, you know, wanting to add a Pacific Island team based up in Auckland or based somewhere in New Zealand. I'm all for that. Australia, you know, New Zealand, Aussie sort of supposedly fighting for it. Well, why can't they have a Pacific Island team based in their country and we can have one based in ours? If we're going to do it, let's really throw some support in there. So, look, if you added another team, a Pacific Island team, you would then have 6 teams. So you play 3 rounds, then have a break.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, just have a complete bye week. Or the other way is maybe you're going to have to stagger it throughout, but you know, I think you don't want them playing sort of 4 games in a row of that quality because we've seen just how tough it really is. So, you know, if they were to go down that route again, you know, that's what I would like to see. Play 3 games, break, play another 3 games, break. Maybe you have 4 to finish, or you split it up. And but yeah, I think that would be something that they would need to look at because clearly the physicality. And on top of that as well, it's not just the physical attrition, the mental attrition as well. It takes a lot to get fired up for these games. You heard the players all throughout saying this is essentially test match standard rugby. Well, you talk to players about the mentality and the mental energy needed to play test match rugby. I think the mental break is almost as important as the physical breaks.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, mate, we saw some absolute standouts in Super Rugby Aotearoa 2020, but also some new generations coming through, some names that we, you know, the Satutus, the Clarks. So, you know, after seeing some of those names coming out, how good do you think the next crop coming through New Zealand is?
Oh, look, I think we see it every year after a Rugby World Cup cycle when, you know, players either head overseas, some people just hang up the boots, others sort of decide we're going to go overseas and look around. And we always seem to get another wave. I mean, you remember after 2011, we were like, well, what's going to happen here? Next minute, we've got Aaron Smith starting, Julian Savia scoring a hat-trick in the first test of 2012 against Ireland, Brodie Retallick popping up, all these amazing young talent. And then, that flowed on through. We saw the same after 2015. And we're seeing it now. You talk about the likes of Hoskins Satutu. I thought young Tom Christie, Cullen Grace before he got injured as well. They were very impressive. We all knew about Will Jordan, but Will Jordan took another massive step up. And you talk about guys who've maybe sort of been there or thereabouts now getting more of an opportunity with Luke Whitelock departing. You look at a Marina Michaeli Tu'u, I should say, and how he took his opportunity and really made that number 8 jersey at the Highlanders his own. So, those are the sort of things where you look at, you just go, yep, okay, there's good depth coming through. And then you look at the likes of the Talayas and the Clarks, as you point out to as well. Some of those young lock forwards who I think are going to get an opportunity to impress finally should this North-South game be played on the 5th of September, fingers crossed. So, I think, it showed what we already knew. There is great depth in New Zealand rugby. There always is. And there are players who are just sitting there waiting for their opportunity to shine. And I think a lot of players took those opportunities in 2020.
Absolutely, mate. Well, we saw the Crusaders take out another trophy to add to the cabinet. Could have gone either way with the Blues and the Hurricanes getting their straps near the end. But would you have liked to have seen a one-off, maybe playoff game, grand final, something like that?
No. Look, the thing is that with Super Rugby, obviously it's you play each other once, you can play someone at home or away, and in recent times they've had that format where sometimes you don't even play all the teams that are competing in that competition. So I don't have a problem with not having a grand final.
Yep.
I think it really would have been an unnecessary game. You play each other home and away, which is a little bit old school, but I think we saw, I still believe the best team at the end of the day won the competition.
Yep.
I do like to try and think about things a little bit differently. There was a lower grade Scottish football competition where obviously it was teams played each other home and away, but they had a really interesting scoring system. If you won your game at home, you got 2 points. If you won the away game, you got 3 points, and there was 1 point for a draw. I just wonder whether that might be just something a little quirky just to throw into it, because winning your games away from home obviously is quite significant in a competition where it is home and away. So to put a bit more value on a away win for mine would be something to look at. But no, I don't think we needed a final. I really don't. I think I just like the idea of when you get even opportunities at your place and at the other person's place, the team at the end of the season deserves to lift the trophy, and I think that's what we got. So, I don't think we need to contrive it, because it was a cracking season, and I really don't think the two best teams needed to play another game, for my mind.
Yep, well spoken, mate. Well spoken. Well, lastly is the North-South game. I know some people around the traps saying it should have been high school, with Barretts playing each other, etc. It would have been a bit tough to pick a top-side high school team for the South, I'm sure. But looking at the names on paper, how they've got it set up, have they got it right, mate? Yeah,
I think they have. I went through and I had a look and went via college, and if you did go by, where they spent their last year of education. I mean, I'll use halfbacks as an example. At the start of the season, when the 5 franchises named their squads, each of them had 3 halfbacks each named. Yep. Okay? Only one of the 15 halfbacks playing Super Rugby in 2020 was educated in the South Island, and that's Mitchell Drummond at Nelson College. Everyone else was educated in the North Island. It's quite heavy, and when I sat down and did the teams, I did what I thought was a pretty good North Island team, but there were so many players that simply were not involved. And there were some South Island players who, were, at the time struggling to even make the bench of their Super Rugby team. And I had to really dig deep to try and find a second halfback. So I think in the professional age, DC, I don't think college, I don't even think province is the way to go. Right. But I think it was the best way to do it in this situation. And I think when you look at the teams, it's a nice spread. My theory, and you know where I'm going with this, we're living in the 21st century. Name your squads. Okay, just name all of your players, then do a draft. Do what they do in the NBA. You know, it's awesome watching LeBron and Giannis sit there and pick teams. How cool would it have been to sit there and watch Patrick Tuipulotu and Sam Whitelock choose their squads?
Absolutely.
That would have been cool. I would love to have seen that. I think, and that to me, it's just a more 21st century way of doing it. Whereas I think this is still a bit of a throwback to the professional age. And you're right, Geordie playing for the South, you know, Bowden for the North. That doesn't make sense to me. Damian McKenzie rolls as hard as any Southlander I have ever met in my entire life. He's rolling out for the North. Yeah, and he's open. He said he would have preferred to play for the South. So do it as a draft. Okay, take where you are, where you were educated, take it all out of it. We just want to see the best players on the field. Let's have some fun with it. And I still think if you did a draft type scenario, you get two really, really good teams and you still get one really, really good game at the end of it.
Brilliant. Yes, draft system. It's a game changer. Just look what the NBL did this season, and look how exciting that competition was.
Yeah, mate, absolutely bang on. You absolutely bang. By the way, how funny would Patrick Tuipulotu gets the first pick, and he picks Richie Mo'unga over Bowden Barrett. Can you imagine that sort of fun little heat? You could have fun on social media with it. You could just have fun broadcasting it. It would be an absolute blast. It would take it to and as I say, I think it brings it into the 21st century. And you're right to use the NBL as an example. They did something different, and look how successful and how entertaining that competition was.
Yeah. Well, thank you, my man, to talk Super Rugby and North-South. I always appreciate listening to you, mate. So thank you for coming on. May it be many more.
Thank you very much, my man. Anytime.